Hey guys, Mark here from Ratings.com, and today we'll be comparing the Sony WF-1000XM3 to the Jaybird Vista. They are the latest truly wireless models from each brand with a slight focus on different use cases. The Sonys are active noise-canceling headphones, which makes them a bit more geared towards travel and commute, whereas the Jaybird have a compact format and IPX7 waterproofing, which make them a bit more suitable for sports. On the upside, both headphones are versatile enough to use as your daily drivers, so which one are you better off with? Also, is the ANC of the Sony worth the price difference? Well, in this video, we'll be comparing the design, sound, noise isolation, and leakage, as well as the active features and connection options. But as always, let's start with what's in the box. For what's in the box, it's pretty straightforward. For the Sonys, you have a USB-C charging cable, the manuals, 6 sets of additional tips, including 3 memory foam tips, the charging case, and the XM3 earbuds. It's about the same for the Jaybirds, so a USB-C charging cable, the manuals, 2 additional sets of sleeves, the case, and the Vista earbuds, and that's pretty much it. And let's get the boxes out of the way and compare the design. For the build quality, here the Sony have the upper hand. They have a premium design with a sturdy, great-looking charging case. The lid of the case and the buds have fairly strong magnets to keep them in place, so the buds shouldn't tumble out even when you shake the case vigorously. The buds also are well-made, dense, and feel durable. They also have a high-end matte finish that most people would prefer over the utilitarian design of the Vista. However, the somewhat unique shape of the Sony buds does make them a bit bulkier and slightly less comfortable overall, but we'll get to that when we talk about comfort. In the meantime, the design language of the Sonys is great, but the case scratches fairly easily, which will be a downside for some. We've had the XM3 in the office for about 3 weeks, and the lid has gotten pretty deep scuff marks from regular use, so keep that in mind when getting these headphones. They won't be the best option to keep in your pocket with your keys. On the other hand, the Jaybird Vista, although not looking quite as premium as the Sonys, still have a sturdy build quality that should last you a while. The buds are somewhat similar to the Jaybird Run and Run XT, but with a smaller design. The case especially is a lot more compact and easier to carry around, which makes the Vista one of the more portable, truly wireless designs that we've tested. The case lid and the earbuds also have magnets like the Sonys, so even shaking or dropping the case would rarely, if ever, cause the buds to tumble out. The Vistas overall feel like a great improvement over the Run and the Run XT, and thanks to the IPX7 rating, they should be a bit more suitable and durable than the Sonys for running and working out. Comfort-wise, the Vista, despite having less tip options, are a bit more comfortable overall when compared to the Sonys. The Sonys have an interesting earbud design that is quite a bit bigger than that of the Vistas. On the upside, the part that actually enters the ear does protrude quite a bit, so the bulky casing doesn't really touch any part of your ears. The Sonys also come with a lot more tip options, including 3 sets of memory foam tips, which some may prefer. Unfortunately, even with that, they're not the most comfortable buds. Their tips are somewhat large and enter deeply into the ear canal, which does get a bit bothersome during long listening sessions. However, if you like the fit of in-ears, then they shouldn't be that much different from what you're used to, and the memory foam tips do help a bit with the fit. The Jaybirds, on the other hand, went with less tip options than the Run and the Run XT model. They combine both the tips and stability fins together, somewhat similar to some of the more recent releases, like the Jaybird Tower Pro. On the upside, even with less tip options, they fit well within most ears, and they have soft silicone tips that do not enter the ear quite as deeply as the Sonys. That, combined with the smaller form factor, does result in a slightly more comfortable experience overall. However, the physical controls of the Vista does force you to push the earbuds against the notch of your ear, which is not ideal when switching tracks or playing and pausing your music. In this aspect, the XM3 are a bit easier to use thanks to the touch-sensitive surface, but have less functions control-wise than the Vista. Unfortunately, both headphones are somewhat limited and suffer from the same issue of not being able to map all their functions to the available controls. The Sony's touch-sensitive surface is slightly more comfortable to use since you don't have to push them as hard against the notch of your ears. However, the tactile feedback is not as good as the physical buttons of the Vista. Also, unlike the Jaybirds, the control scheme has no option for volume controls, which may be a deal breaker for some, but could be added via a software update. As of now, with the 1.3.0 firmware, you can set playback controls to either earbud. A single tap would pause and resume your music, and also manage calls. You can set the other earbuds to cycle through noise canceling on, off, and ambient control, or have it set to your Google Assistant once you have it set up for quick access to your notifications. You can somewhat do the same thing with a long press on the right earbud, which will enable your device's or phone's default voice assistant. And pressing and holding the left earbud lets you quickly enter ambient mode to hear what's going on around you. It's similar to the cover and hear-through gesture of the over-ear WH-1000XM3, which is pretty cool. As for the Jaybird, you can map the play and pause to a single press of either earbud. You also have the option to map the single press to trigger your assistant or a custom function based on the Jaybird preset playlist options. You can also map the custom functions and your assistant to a double press if you prefer, although by default it is mapped to skipping tracks. Lastly, the press and hold function can be used to power off the headphones or to control your music volume, so a long press on the right earbud turns your volume up and on the left turns your volume down. It's a fairly intuitive control scheme that provides more functions than the Sony's, but it's only available if you decide to customize it via the app, which won't be ideal for everyone. It also takes a little bit of time to get used to. So overall, design-wise, the Sony have the better build quality and the more premium aesthetic, but the Jaybird are a bit more comfortable, compact, and provide more functions with their controls. Unfortunately, both headphones do not have the best control schemes, which may be a deciding factor for some. And that's pretty much it for the design. Now let's compare the sound quality, isolation, and leakage with Sam.
Both the Sony and the Jaybird have a decent sound quality, but the Sony has a clear treble and the Jaybird has a more powerful bass. So it'd be best if you make your decision based on the type of sound profile you prefer. But before looking at the performance in more detail, we're going to play a recording we have done with these two headphones so you can get an idea about how their sound compares for yourself. Just keep in mind that this is a relative comparison and not an absolute one. So it is good for seeing which headphone has more bass or treble, for example, but you won't be able to judge the actual sound profile. And if you get one of these headphones and listen to the same track that we've used here, you most likely won't hear the same thing. Here we have the frequency response of the Sony WF-1000XM3 on the left and the Jaybird Vista on the right. And as you can see, the Sony lacks a bit of low bass, so the Jaybird will sound thumpier on bass-heavy material. The mid-range of these headphones is very similar and also quite good. However, both of them show a bit of a bump in low-mid, which could muddy up vocals and instruments a bit. The treble range of the Sony is noticeably brighter than the Jaybird, which combined with their lower sub-bass makes them less suitable for the fans of heavy bass. But you probably prefer them if you like clear and present vocals. Also, it seems the Jaybirds are a bit more sibilant than the Sony, so you may find the S and T sounds a bit too sharp on them. But you can always correct for these issues since both of these headphones come with apps that have a decent EQ. One last thing is that we found both of these headphones to perform very consistently on our dummy head across multiple reseats. But make sure to choose the right ear tip size for your ears, otherwise you may not get a good seal with these headphones and may experience a drop in bass. Now for isolation and leakage, we have also recorded a comparison, which we're going to play now. First up is isolation. With active noise cancellation turned off, the Sony isolates a bit less than the Jaybird, which doesn't have an ANC system and provides a mediocre passive isolation. But if you enable the ANC on the Sonys, then they perform significantly better than the Jaybirds, especially in the bass range. However, their ANC system is not quite on par with what we've seen from in-ears and earbuds of other brands like Bose, or even from the over-ear headphones by Sony. Now let's listen to the leakage recording. As you probably didn't hear, these headphones don't really leak. This is due to their in-ear design and means that you don't need to worry about disturbing the people around you with your music unless you are in a very quiet environment like a library and are blasting your music. Even then, the sound coming out of these headphones will be very quiet and mostly consist of cymbals and S&T sounds. Now, let's go back to Mark.
And now for the active features and connection options. Starting with the wireless range, here both headsets do very well and pretty much maxed out our testing facility at 72 feet when obstructed. In direct line of sight, the Vista did a little better and reached up to 313 feet, whereas the Sonys did 295. This makes both headsets suitable options for most use cases, and even when paired to fixed sources like a PC or TV, and the Bluetooth 5.0 headphones, so the performance may be a little better with a 5.0 source. However, keep in mind that range is strongly dependent on your source device, signal strength, and the interference around you. As for latency, the Sonys had about 250 milliseconds in our test, and the Jaybirds performed slightly worse at 297 milliseconds. Unfortunately, this means that both headphones will not be great for gaming on your phone or for watching a lot of video content. However, we've noticed that some apps and devices offer a bit of latency compensation, so they may not be as bad for everyone, especially since most Bluetooth headphones with no latency codecs hover around 200 milliseconds in our tests. For their battery life, the Sonys last a little bit longer than the Jaybird Vista, especially when using them without the noise cancellation enabled. The Sony lasts about 6.9 hours in our drain test and have 3 additional charges in their case for a total of 20 plus hours of listening time. The Vista, on the other hand, lasted about 5.5 hours on a single charge and had about 10 hours of additional charge in their case. This totals to about 16 hours of listening time on average, but you could extend that to about 32 if you don't mind using one earbud at the time. They both have quick charge features that gives you more than an hour's worth of playtime from a 5 to 10 minute charge. They also both have auto-off timers when idle to conserve power, which you can enable and disable within their apps. Speaking of the apps, both these headphones do a fantastic job with customization options and the level of controls available. The Sony Headphones app is sleek, easy to use, and when paired to the WF-1000XM3, gives you a wealth of options. You get adaptive and ambient sound control, which lets you tweak the level of active noise cancellation and even focus on voices if needed. You also get a 5-band graphic EQ with presets, an in-app player, sound quality modes, options for mapping the controls, and even pausing your audio when you take them out of your ears. You can also enable and disable the auto-off timer, notification alerts, and the voice guides. The Jaybird app is also just as complete with an excellent parametric EQ that really lets you customize the sound profile to your liking. You also get community presets and a personal EQ feature that plays tones to help you find the best setup for your listening taste. In the app, there's also a media player, a Find My Earbuds feature, the auto-off timer, and the mapping for the controls of the Vista, which we mentioned earlier in the video. Overall, both apps feel complete, intuitive to use, and add a lot of customization options, which set these two truly wireless headsets apart from competing models. Lastly, for the connection options, both these headphones are Bluetooth 5.0 truly wireless in-ears, and as expected, can't be used wired. They also both have USB-C charging ports on their case for power, but the Sony also support NFC pairing, which makes them a bit easier to pair if you have a lot of NFC-enabled Bluetooth sources in your home. However, if you're only paired to one device like your phone, it shouldn't make a big difference. So overall, which one should you choose? Well, in this case, it really comes down to what you do most with your headphones. If you typically use your headphones to block out the noise around you while commuting and traveling to work, then the WF-1000XM3 are a great choice. The noise cancelling feature does make a difference, and they will isolate you more than the Vista. They also have a sleek premium look, a great build quality, and an excellent app to customize the somewhat bass-lacking sound to better match what you typically listen to. Unfortunately, the control scheme is a little limited, and despite the extra foam tips, they're not the most comfortable headphones. They're also a bit bulky and not the easiest wireless headphones to carry around, which is where the Vista does a little bit better. They have a compact design and charging case that will easily fit in your pockets, and a sturdy, durable build quality, which is meant for sports. They're slightly more comfortable and stable when running, and they also have an excellent app to customize the typical Jaybird sound even further than what you can do with the Sonys. They won't look as high-end, but they get the job done, especially for sports. And that's pretty much it. You can check out all our measurements on our website, and if you like this video, subscribe to our channel or become an insider. Also, we're currently hiring in our offices in Montreal for various positions, so if you want to help people find the best products for their needs, have a look at our careers page on our website. Thank you for watching. See you next time.